as the wheels turn beneath you, chasing future to your past, doubling your vision, falling tears on broken glass. I look out of the window, mirror on my fears, biting light shows no respite until the blue of night is near. Oh, I don't know what I want, but I know the way I feel. This energy between us has never felt so real.
Hello and welcome to the Jenni Makes podcast. This will be a podcast primarily about knitting. There will be some crochet thrown in, there's certainly some crochet today, and just anything fibre related really. I love a little bit of embroidery, have been known to cross stitch, and certainly as the nights draw in and we kind of hit a bit more of a festive time, I love to dabble in all things fibre related. I recognise there are 1,000,001 knitting podcasts around these days, which I think is great. And I just thought I'd throw my hat into the ring. If you're someone who loves working with woolly wools, has an interest in sort of breed-specific fibres, likes kind of classic knits, textures, colour work, then I hope there'll be something here for you to enjoy. I also love dabbling in crochet. You can see the crochet blanket behind me. I like designing little 3D sort of amigurumi things too, which I might periodically show. So yeah, kind of a spectrum of things for you to enjoy. Right from the get-go, I'm gonna apologise if there is a rude entrance from one of my two, or maybe both of my two co-hosts. I have two very curious cats. One in particular loves yarn almost as much as I do, but for very different reasons. So yeah, Phoebe and Moose may make an appearance. They may try and sabotage my pile of knits that I have just to the side of me, so apologies in advance. Yes. So yeah, thank you for joining me, and hopefully you've got your knitting or a project with you, a cup of tea, and we can dive right into what I've been working on. So I'm going to start off talking about the project that I was working on in the little bit of B-roll that I hopefully have managed to put in at the start of this video. I am working on some single crochet bunting, little triangles. I always have to hesitate when I say whether it's single or double crochet. Despite living in the UK, I live in Newcastle for anyone who's interested, I learnt to crochet using US terminology, and even though it's not that difficult to kind of convert between the two, I always get a little bit stuck. So when I say single crochet, I mean American single crochet. I can't actually remember. I think maybe that's double crochet in English, but I mean, don't quote me on it. So I'm just making these very simple triangles. My parents are having a little celebration for their 35th wedding anniversary in a few weekends' time, and I thought it'd be nice to decorate the little hall that they're having it in with some of these triangles. So I've worked out that in order to spell happy 35th anniversary and then my parents' names, I need 29 triangles. So far I have 25, so we're nearly there. I've actually managed to get them done relatively quickly after sort of doing the classic thing of coming up with this idea about 3 months ago and then leaving it to just a couple of weeks before it needs to be done. They've actually come together quite quickly. So I'm using Shiny Happy Cotton by Wool & the Gang, which is a really lovely kind of buttery soft Aran cotton in a few different colours. I can't remember, this is yarn that I got years and years and years ago. I used to work for Wool & the Gang a long time ago. I think it's maybe like 7 or 8 years ago or so now. And even though I only worked for them for around about a year, it's incredible how much yarn I amassed from working there, just like picking up oddballs or having like oddballs left over from projects. So it's primarily from working there, and I can remember some of the colours. When I worked there, I had like an oddly good memory for the colours. I'm not quite as good anymore, obviously. I can't actually remember what this hot pink was called, but I want to say it was, I don't know if it was just hot pink, don't know. Then in this one it was a bit of a half and half one because I was really trying to just use up all of the scraps. I still have yarn left over, like goodness knows. I've made countless little projects using the Shiny Happy Cotton scraps, and still I know I have the oddball lurking here and there. So the top colour is jog grey and the bottom greeny colour is spearmint. Then I've striped the hot pink colour with Coral Crush. I made a jumper for my mum in that colour, and yeah, it's such a fun, vibrant colour. I think if I'd had more of it, I might have done all of the bunting in it, because 35 years, the like 35th wedding anniversary is coral, but I didn't have enough. And I've also got some remnants of, this is also Wool in the Gang, but this is a recycled denim yarn. Again, I don't actually even know. I've not been on the Wool in the Gang site in a long time. I don't know what's still stocked or what's discontinued. This feels a lot drier than the cotton yarn, but it's really nice to work with. I initially bought enough to make a summer top, and then I realised I'm not really a knitted summer top kind of gal. I've tried to make a few over the years. Usually I've started them in the height of summer, which is always kind of a stupid idea because then it gets cold before you get a chance to finish them, or you lose steam, which seems to happen with me. But it's great for, I've made loads of little coasters, and the bunting, it seems to have worked really well. So yeah, I'm kind of plugging along with that. I have blocked these, but already you can see they're starting to curl, so I'm hoping just an aggressive iron will fix them. We'll see. But yeah, that's my little stack. Very satisfying. I literally just started with one single crochet stitch, and then at the end of each row increased until I got to 22 stitches. And then my plan is using the white that I've started to use to do the chain stitch embroidery to just chain like across them all. I can't tell yet if I'm gonna also like go underneath, but I don't know if that'll look kind of too fussy. So yeah, I'm just doing like a very simple where's the camera? Yeah, like very simple chain stitch embroidery on top. I initially was thinking I would crochet the letters and then sew them on, but I think 29 letters would take a long time. And I do want to work on other projects in between now and over the next couple of weeks. And as fun as this has been to work on, I don't want it to drag out for too long. So far I've written out the words happy, or the word happy. So yeah, we're getting there. Project number 2. So I've written myself out some little notes because I feel like it's been a while since I've like talked about some of these projects, or I'm not very good now at like sharing on Instagram. It was like, it used to be a platform that I really enjoyed and used to get a lot out of I guess having like discussions on there, or like writing longer posts about like more detail about things, and I don't know, I just don't really enjoy it as much anymore. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to start the podcast, is a place to, even if like literally I might just be speaking into the void, maybe 1 or 2 people will watch this and that is fine, but for me I really enjoy talking about my projects. In the past I've been so lucky to kind of be part of knit groups or go to knit nights and like find community there. I haven't yet managed to do that in Newcastle. I am still holding out hope that I will find my people. There was a lovely group I used to meet and chat with before the pandemic, and then I feel like over the course of the pandemic, obviously a lot of things changed for people, and like people moved away or people got new jobs, and unfortunately the little knitting group never reformed. So yeah, I feel a bit like I want to share and tell people about what I'm working on, but I think there's only a small subset of society who want to hear in the minute detail that I want to share. So maybe there'll be someone out there who's listening to this and like that strikes a chord. I don't know. So my next project is a bit of a long-standing one. So, and also like a very popular one. Of course, I'm in the middle of a row, so that's great. So I am working on a 50/50 triangles wrap. Try and like hold it up. There we go. It's huge. It's big. So I think I cast this on 2 summers ago, I think, and yeah, before I totally launch in. So it's the 50/50 triangles wrap. It's a pattern by Purl Soho. I feel like everyone has knitted or at least started at least one. The yarn I'm using is Supersoft 4-ply lambswool from Rennie? Yes. Yeah, so it's 100% lambswool. I can see here that this dark shade is called charcoal. I cannot remember what the light grey shade is, and I've lost all the tags, so I don't know. But it's, yeah, very light, soft grey shade. So yeah, I started this a couple of years ago, and it's a free pattern. And for anyone who doesn't know, and I find it hard to believe there's anyone who doesn't know, because I feel like if you've not knitted one, then you've watched at least 4 podcasts of people who are knitting them. But basically you start off by casting on like the full width of the wrap in your first colour, and then you knit back and forth on those stitches, but doing short rows, so the row gets shorter by 1 stitch each time, until you've like reached the point up here where you just have I can't remember if it was, I don't know, like maybe it's just 1 stitch you have left, and then you knit back across all those live stitches and start again, but kind of in reverse. So instead of like losing a stitch each time, you're incorporating another stitch each time. I did a couple of modifications. I mean it's been that long since I've actually even looked at the pattern, because like once you get started you don't really need to look at it. I can't 100% remember how the pattern is, but I think in the pattern it's wrap and turn short rows, whereas I did German short rows. So that's how it looks on the front. It's like a nice neat join, and then on the back you can kind of see how they interlock, but I quite like that. And then I also added an I-cord edging. So basically what I did is I slip the last 3 stitches at the end of the row, and then just knit them as normal on the right side, and it creates this very satisfying edge, which I have never done. I've never done an I-cord edging before, and yeah, I think it looks really nice. So yeah, as I was saying, I started it, knit the first triangle, like knit the first side like really quickly, from what I remember anyway. And I think it's so addictive because each row that you're knitting gets shorter, and like I think psychologically that's really enjoyable that each row gets shorter. The problem is that once you've done that and you've got down to 1 stitch, you then have to do it in reverse, so each row is getting longer, and it's, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's been a bit of a slog. So I think it probably like hung out in a bag for maybe a year, or maybe it like came out, was knit on a little bit, and then got put back away again. But I'm getting there, so it's kind of hard to show because I'm in the middle of a row, but that's all that I have left to incorporate. I think it's last count, it was maybe like 35 stitches left there, which is like 70 rows because it's like every other row that you're incorporating it. So it's getting there. I did have a lot of stops and starts with this project, so I was really inspired by a podcaster who I used to watch, who I don't think is recording at the moment, but what was her name? The Gentle Knitter. If anyone has watched her, she has like produced some really beautiful episodes. I think she's Canadian. I can't remember her name, but anyway, she's not recording at the moment. I think she's going through like a period of like poor health. But if you want to watch someone who clearly takes a lot of time and is like very deliberate with how she records her episodes, works on beautiful projects, like really thoughtful about her colour choices and pattern choices, then I'd really recommend the Gentle Knit podcast. Anyway, I watched her episode. She was working on a half and half triangles wrap where she was using pretty much this shade of grey with a really delicate sort of bluey greeny like second colour, and I just like couldn't get that colour combination out of my brain. I just thought it was so beautiful, it was so like calming. So I bought those colours, knit up the grey, but when I started to use, I was kind of like a sea glassy, greeny, like pastel mint kind of colour that I had. And when I started to knit it up, I really didn't like it. I really didn't like how it looked. I think it was maybe one of those examples where I'd seen a project by someone else and that really, it worked well for their style. It worked well for the other clothes they had in their wardrobe and their general aesthetic. And I didn't stop to think about what I like to wear. And I'm someone who, I love a stripe, in case you couldn't tell. And I love like high contrast. I quite like putting not unusual colours, but I love putting like red and pink together, or like pink and orange. And you can probably tell from the bunting, like this colour combination I just love. I love the hot pink and the corally orange. I think that's so fun. So I was working on the second colour and I just wasn't feeling it, and so I sort of put it down, and yeah, ended up having to have a stern word with myself, and I was like, I want this project, like there's already so much yarn and like time that has gone into this project. It's going to be beautiful when it's done. You just need to either like suck it up and finish it or change the colour. So I decided to change the colour, and yeah, I think basically what I realised is I kind of regretted even like using the grey. I think I really wish I'd gone for like a more zingy contrast. But instead I was like, what's going to go with the grey? Like a nice charcoal, it'll be really wearable. Kind of a shame that this is exactly the same colour as my coat, but as a good friend pointed out, I just would wear it with the grey side out, so it's fine. So yeah, that's my half and half triangles wrap. This is my work knitting currently. It's actually really impractical to take to work. I feel like it fills my whole rucksack, but it's nice and it's mindless, and yeah, I think it's like a good companion. And also sometimes it gets quite cold in the staff room that I work in. I'm a midwife, so I do shift work, and like particularly on night shift, the staff room can get like quite chilly. So the good thing about this project in its current state is that it like doubles up as a blanket while I'm knitting on it. Yeah, so I think that's all I want to say about that. I really want to get it done. At the start of the year, I kind of spread out all my projects that were on the go and kind of tried to make a bit of a plan of like, what am I going to unravel, what needs finishing and what actually needs done to it. And then also like I put like yarn into little piles and like was like, I want to make this and that. And yeah, this was one of those projects I was like, I need to get this finished this year. So I'm really hoping it's not far off. It's not far off. If I like dedicated a week of knitting to it, I think it would be done. The only thing is it is a bit boring, and the rows are very long now. So But yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. I'm hoping maybe in a few weeks' time it'll be finished and it will be so cozy. It's so soft and woolly and beautiful. It smells so woolly. Anyway, right. On to the next project. I'm hoping that this is enjoyable to watch. I feel like I'm being either very rambly or I'm saying or like making awkward pauses. I don't know. I don't know how much I'm going to cut out or like edit, because that takes quite a long time, and then also maybe isn't like that genuine. I don't know, but yeah, I hope it's okay. So my next project, let's talk about this jumper. So this is my Hansholme sweater. I don't think I've ever actually said that out loud. In my head I call it my Handsome sweater, but it's not spelled like that. It's spelled like Hansholme. So yeah, it's a Hansholme sweater by Petite Knit. I have a comically large yarn ball currently attached to it. It is literally like the size of my face. So this yarn is a dream to work with. I am loving working with this yarn. So it is Faerie Folk DK, which is a, sorry, I don't know why I'm like working out the tangle now. Don't need to be doing that now, but yeah. Yeah, Faerie Folk DK, and it is 70% merino, 30% kid mohair. I got it from Folklore Fibres, I think was the Folklore Yarns, which was this lovely shop that I dragged my partner to when we went to a recent trip to Belfast. And it's like a yarn that they get spun for the shop, and it is beautiful. Like, okay, so I'll show you the project. So here it is. I can't really, it's very crumpled. It's a bit tricky to show. There we go, there it is. So yeah, very crumpled. So it's a pattern by Petite Knit, I don't know if I already said that. And it's going to be for my partner, and it's actually like come together pretty quickly. So we went to Belfast for his birthday, which is in the middle of June. So July, August, September. So 3 months, and I don't think I cast it on straight away. So actually, yeah, it's coming together. And he's like quite a tall man, so I definitely knitted it a lot longer than if it was a jumper for me. What do I want to say about this like pattern? It's like lovely and simple, like folded neckband. I think that's in the pattern. I do have a habit of just adding like a folded neckband to everything because I just like them, but I think that was actually in the pattern. Very basic raglan with like lots of short rows on the back neck. And what did I do? I think, so what do I want to say about this? So I'm using, for the body, I used a 4.5mm needle, and I have a real problem with, like, my gauge can often get quite tight, and particularly like working on like a smaller circumference on the arms. So my thinking for this project is, okay, I'll go up a needle size. So I'm knitting the sleeves on a 5. I don't know if I'm just being a bit of a perfectionist, but I'm worried that actually my gauge like got too big on the sleeves. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anyone can even tell the difference. I feel like I can tell the difference, but I don't know if that's just because I know. And I did have to omit like one like set of decreases, not because it was too narrow, but because if I'd knitted like the further, I can't remember if it's like 8 or 10 rows in like the decrease repeat, it would have been way too long. So yeah, I don't know, but I think it's fine. I think it looks fine. I really just need to like sit and get this done. I guess in the same way with the half and half wrap, like I think if I sat and did this, just like dedicated like 1 week's worth of knitting time to it, it would be finished. So I've just got one sleeve to go, and then you can have it. the weather in Newcastle is definitely not like DK jumper weather just yet, but I'm sure soon it'll get there. And he's already tried it on and like it fits, so yeah, I'm really happy with it. I've really got into my I don't know if you can even see, but like really got into my, what's it called, Italian bind off. I think it just looks so satisfying. I find it really soothing to do as well. I mean, it did take 10 million years to do it on the bottom ribbing, but yeah, it's a gorgeous yarn. I would recommend anyone going on and like looking on their website and trying it. I'd never heard of the shop before. I'd never heard of the brand before. I just did the classic thing. I'm assuming a lot of other people do this when they go on holiday to a new place. Like the first thing that I search is knitting shops near me, and it came up, and yeah, dragged my partner there. They had so many colours. They had a colour which I have continued to think about and sort of wish that I bought a sweater quantity for myself, even though I really don't need any more sweater quantities. I need to work through some of the ones that I have already. But it was a grey base with not quite like rainbow speckles, but it's not really like picking up amazing. But it was kind of like multicolored speckles in it, and it looked gorgeous. So I don't know, maybe next year I'll treat myself, and like I also think I'd essentially want to make the just exact same jumper just for me. But yeah, it was such a lovely shop. The woman, I can't remember her name. I don't know if I even asked her name, but we like chatted for ages. It's got like a little cafe in it as well, and like she was so lovely and friendly, and like just the right level of helpful. Sometimes I think if you go into a yarn shop and if it's a bit quiet, I don't know, sometimes there can be like not awkwardness, but sometimes it can feel like, I don't know, the owner's like very conscious of like being helpful, but I sometimes just like to browse like by myself. But no, it was like, yeah, she was just exactly the right level of helpful. She wound all of the yarn into balls for me, because you buy it, I don't know if you can buy it if it's by the 50 gram or if it's even like by the 10 gram, I can't remember, but I feel like it was like very flexible, and you didn't necessarily need to get loads more than what you needed, like what the pattern stated for. So she wound all these like big skeins for me that I then had to like stuff in my hand luggage to take home. But yeah, she was a really, really lovely, helpful lady. Yeah, so I definitely recommend checking this out. I feel like it's maybe going to be on my wanted list for next year if I get a few more of my sweater quantities knitted up. I mean, I don't need it. I've got like 3 grey sweater quantities. I do not need to get a 4th, but it's so pretty. So yeah, I mean, I guess there's not really loads to say about that. It's a pretty basic man's sweater. I promised my boyfriend a sweater for Christmas, and it's kind of a bit of a disaster. Maybe at some point I'll show it on the podcast, but I still feel a bit sad about it. So it's not seen the light of day for a little bit. But basically, I tried to like self-draft a 4-ply jumper using woolly knit British wool in like in my head I called it like TV static, like a black and white, like one. It was a 2-ply yarn, 1 ply is black, 1 ply is white, and I did, I think it's called sand stitch, which is essentially like moss stitch, only there's like 1 row of knitting in between each texture row, if that makes sense. Anyway, it took me hours and hours and hours. I think the row gauge was something ridiculous, like 48 rows to 10 centimeters, which gives you an idea of like if you're trying to do a men's sweater, like how long that took. And I got it to the point where I'd maybe knitted to the mid chest and knitted 1 sleeve, and he tried it on and it just didn't fit. It wasn't even that it was too big or too small, it was just like it was not the shape of a jumper. I don't know what I'd done. I've knitted so many jumpers. It was really sad. I was very sad. So that is like the replacement, which has now taken me almost a full year to knit, but that's fine. It's nearly done. Yeah, hopefully. I'm really hoping that like some of these projects that I'm showing will be like off the needles like within the next month or so. I think I would feel good about that, because the year is winding up and I want to empty off the needles, so I'm not doing a repeat kind of post the same as I did at the start of the year, where I spread my projects out on the floor, and it's the same projects that I have shown the year before. I want to avoid that. So yes, that's my Hansholme sweater, which I'm not really sure how to pronounce. So this next project, it's very much in the early stages. I feel like it has swept Instagram. It's just such a beautiful, like, photogenic project. So I am working on the Heirloom Quilt cardigan by Katryn Seeburger. So I feel like the bag, I apologise, this is rustly. I know some people don't like the sound of rustling plastic, so maybe I'll like mute this, I don't know. But the bag I'm about to show you is a example of how much Moose loves yarn, and how even if you seal it up in a plastic bag, she will make it her life's mission to try and get to the yarn. So I don't know if you can like see like the light picking it up, but this is covered in lots of tiny little tooth marks from when she was left alone, unsupervised, with this yarn. It was on the top shelf, which she can't get to, but I think she must have got a sneaky little paw. So yeah, not great. So yeah, maybe I'll stop talking for a minute and just get the yarn out of its plastic bag so that people can't hear the rustle. Right, so I am using Loch Lomond Bio, which I think is Aran weight, by BC Garn. I got that from a local, well, it's not local, it's probably my most local knitting shop, called Fine Fettle Fibres. She has a really lovely selection. It's dangerous for me to go to that shop because I do buy a sweater quantity of something every time I go. So let me show you. So this is, did I say this? The Heirloom Quilt cardigan. Yes, I hope I did. So you basically work these little patches. They're not blocked, so apologies. And yeah, you like get to play with colour and then sew them all together and you've got a beautiful cardigan. People must have seen it on Instagram because it is everywhere. So I've done a few different colours. So I think there was an error in the pattern, or at least an error in the information, where it said you needed 6 colours when you actually need 5, and I bought 8. So I've like really, it's a bit annoying actually because yeah, I really overdid it with the number of colours. Like I think getting a couple more, if you think it's 6 and then you come away with 8 is fine, but if it's 5, like coming away, I don't know, for some reason that was like a tipping point for me, and I was like, no, that's a bit annoying, because I will have to go back and buy more because I only bought 1 skein of each colour because I was like, well, I'm still playing around with colours. I really like, yeah, so I've not like made a huge start. I've got another one on the needles. They're kind of like a greyish, pinkish with like orange flecks, and then the maroon, which I really like. That was another one there. I've actually done a few more than I thought. I thought I literally had done like 2. So yeah, that is, I've made a start. I can't remember how many I need to make. I think it's quite a few. So far I have 5, but I think one of them I'm not going to use. So the first one I did to check my gauge, and it's blocked, so it's a little bit flatter and a bit neater. I really don't like the colours now. It's a bit like Gryffindor. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to use this one, but I'm going to keep it anyway, and because I really like the maroon. So let me show you the colours that I've got. So how many have I got here? 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so I did buy 8. So I think the 2 colours I'm not going to use, maybe I'll show you those first, are these 2. I might do, but I just think, I don't know how I'm going to show you these. I don't know, I don't think I've got enough hands, but I just think, I don't know, like I don't really like how that is with the maroon. I don't know if I like it how it sits with like the other colours. And I don't know how I feel about this pink. It kind of looks, it doesn't really like fit with the other one. So let me try and show you what I've got. So apologies, I think these colours just had codes. I can't remember any of the codes. So I'm just going to try and hold these up. I wonder if it doesn't help that like that it's also attached to knitting as well. Okay, I'm gonna show 4 and then I'm gonna show there's 2 more. So we've got these 4, like, so kind of a couple of like more naturally ones, and then I love this colour. I think it's like so nice. I don't know how well the like the picture quality is picking it up, but it's, yeah, like pinky with like these lovely little like orangey flecks in it. Oh, obsessed. So I've got those, and then I wonder if I'm like, oh, maybe this will work. And then also these 2. I don't know, showing it on the camera, it doesn't look as fun. I don't know if like, do I need to add? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Maybe this one would work. So again, I feel like the lighting in here is like not the best. Oh. That, sorry. I'm kind of intrigued by this colour. It's like a greeny, and I feel like it, in theory, it does not fit with all the other colours that I'm using, but I quite like it. There's, I love the version by, I don't know her actual name, but Nervous Fibres, who's dyer. I think she's based in Scotland, I'm not sure, but she dyes beautiful, beautiful yarns. I've like knit a pair of socks in her non-superwash base. But anyway, she made the Heirloom cardigan, and I'm pretty sure she had like a minty green in it with like a brown, and I love the like mint chocolate chip vibes. I don't know, I feel like it's kind of like blowing out a little bit in the picture, but yeah, I love that. So that one, like that project's just kind of plodding along. It's a little tricky to work on in the house because basically, yeah, Moose is a yarn demon. She will sit on my lap and watch my yarn, and even at the slightest lapse in my concentration, her little sneaky paw comes out and she eats the yarn. Or yeah, as you can see from the plastic bag, she will like hunt out the yarn. She seems to particularly like pure wool. She's got good taste. So when I've worked with cotton before, like she's kind of interested in the moving yarn, but doesn't seem to want to chew it if it's stationary. Whereas the wool, I think particularly the Hansholme sweater, I think that's the only time so far that it wasn't a disaster because she didn't really destroy anything, but I had the project on top of my chest of drawers in the bedroom, and the cats don't usually come in the bedroom overnight. We have them shut out, but I think it was one morning they were meowing quite early, so we just like let them in to sort of entertain themselves, and I'd forgotten that the knitting was on top, not in a bag, just naked on the top of the chest of drawers. And I thought she was playing with one of her toys, and then actually when I looked I realised that she'd got hold of the yarn ball. It was another one of like the really big yarn balls, and was basically just dragging it all over the floor and like biting bits off it and eating it, which, yeah, was not ideal. Not ideal when you realise it at like, 7 in the morning. Partially because it's like, if you Google what happens if my cat has eaten yarn, you get loads of scary things saying that your cat is going to have a bowel obstruction and that you need to take them to the vet immediately. I did call the vet and they were like, it's fine, she'll probably just poop it out essentially. So on that level, like cat health, it's not ideal that she will eat yarn, but also it meant that like it was like the tangle of yarn that had been created, and also like it had been wrenched off the project, and then there were like bits everywhere because she'd like bitten through it. Yeah, so why was I talking about that? Oh yeah, so it's meant that working on this project has been a bit tricky because it's obviously like 2 yarns coming off the knitting, which is just like double the temptation, I guess. I'm hoping that if I just keep knitting, like by exposure, she will lose interest. For context, we we got the two cats 3 or 4 months ago now, and so it's not like they're kind of like coming up to 2 years old, and so I'm kind of just hoping that like the more I knit around them, because I guess knitting is like a new and exciting thing for them still at this point, but like the more I do it, maybe she'll like eventually lose interest. She doesn't care when I tell her off. She doesn't understand what no means. I mean, who can blame her? They look exactly like some of her toys. Like we play, like we've got a little fishing line thing, and we play with that, and that looks exactly like yarn, so I can't really be too harsh on her, I suppose. It does just maybe mean I need to be a bit more careful thinking about the projects I work on, so I'm not going to show it now because it's in the other room and it's where the cats are, and I feel like I'm having a good run of like not being disturbed by them. But I bought yarn to do a intarsia jumper by, I'm gonna have to look this up. Let's like hold that thought. I'm just gonna look at it. So I bought yarn at the Northeast Knitting Show for the Flower Power pullover by Dagan, I think is the name of the designer. And I'll try and put a picture. Will I hate myself for saying that when I then realise I have no idea how to put a picture in here? Probably. But I'll try and put a picture. And basically it's a really beautiful intarsia flower jumper, as the name suggests. And I bought it in, I think like in yarn very similar to what the original colourway was, so I've bought it in a really bright red with like an off-white background colour. I feel like I'm being a bad podcaster because I'm drawing a total blank for the brand of yarn, but I mean I didn't think I would be talking about it today. But I didn't really think, obviously colour work, okay, that's 2 strands, but because it's intarsia, I think there's going to be points where I have 5 like little bobbins of yarn coming off the project, and I really don't know if I'm ever going to be able to work on it, so I really want the jumper, but I don't know if I'm going to have to rethink it. I wonder if I could knit it plain and then in like duplicate stitch over the top, but I just don't think that would be the same, and I think that process would be quite tedious. Anyway, if anyone has cats who are interested in yarn, have you found ways of discouraging them, or do you just like make do? I don't know. As you might have seen from the opening clip, the cats usually, like if I'm sat down, they want to be on me. Usually both of them, which is lovely. It's part of the reason I got cats, to have some nice company, some nice cuddles, but it does make it a little bit stressful when like your primary hobby they want to destroy. And by they, I mean Moose, because Phoebe, the other cat, is a little baby angel and she's not really that interested in knitting, so yeah. So that's my heirloom cardigan. I've made such a mess and I feel like I've really rambled. One last project. So I'm not a monogamous knitter. Never have been, never will be, I don't think. I like having different projects for like different moods or different different locations. I always have a project with me, so I'll have like projects that are suitable for work knitting, or like if I'm like going to see friends, like things that are like good for the train, and then like being sociable, and then like more complex home projects. So I guess like the heirloom cardigan, though actually like, I mean I guess I never really talked about like the process of knitting these. Colour work flat, I didn't relish. I hated doing the first square. I hated it. I was like, oh my goodness, I've bought 8 balls of yarn, and for this project I bought the pattern and I hate the process. I'm never going to be able to get into this. But then actually like something just clicked, and then for like the ones after that I've really enjoyed the process of doing it. Maybe this could work as a work knitting project because they're quite small, they're very portable. Anyway, so yeah, I like to have lots of different projects. This last project that I'm going to show you, it hasn't really seen much action. I think I did take it on my holiday with me like a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't really knit on it. I think I mainly like knitted on the half and half wrap. Got really like into that for some reason, out of nowhere, after it being in a bag for 6 months. So I every so often knit socks. I never used to really be a sock knitter, and then like something changed over the last couple of years. I think making them for my partner, he really appreciates the hand knitted socks, and I think that's it's nice to know that like when you're gifting them that someone's going to really enjoy wearing them, and like he does wear them like every day pretty much. He does have like quite a few pairs now, so I love doing like variations on like ribbed socks. This one is a, let me look, you can tell it's been a little while since I've worked on it because I'm like, what even is this? It is a 2x2 broken rib sock, so I love a broken rib, and it is in Zauberball, Crazy Zauberball by Schoppelwolle. So I've like knitted a lot for Jack in these yarns. I sort of like how unpredictable the colours are, and like how you just like, particularly if you're like pulling from the centre, you're like, what's going to be next? So yeah, this is quite a nice earthy one. I think the reason this has kind of languished a little bit, it would probably make sense to be taking this to work because it doesn't take up a full rucksack, but anyway, it languished a little bit because I finished knitting the leg and then realised I'd knitted it too short. So yeah, that's not great, but it's getting there now. I think it's like pretty much ready to like start the heel. I am firmly a heel flap and gusset gal. I just feel like it fits my foot and Jack's foot a lot better. I much prefer the process of doing a short row heel, but I just like the socks that I have made for myself or other people, I just don't think they fit as well. I think what doesn't help is that I do have a tight row gauge, and I guess that doesn't really work so well with the short row heel, but maybe you can compensate more with a heel flap and gusset. I don't know. So yeah, that's just a brief. It's not particularly exciting. I don't know if I feel like this could sit in its bag for another couple of months and not be done. This is its cute little bag. I think this is from Mossy and Squid. I don't know if they're still going. My mum bought me it many years ago and I love it. So I think that is all I'm going to talk about today. 47 minutes. It's quite a lot of talking. So if you've made it this far through the video, thank you so much for watching. I am probably most active on Instagram, where my handle is Jennifer G Barrett. I'll put that in the description box if you want to follow me on there. I'm not always that great at posting, not gonna lie. I go through phases, and I think currently it's not a good phase for posting. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and feel free to leave a comment telling me what you're working on, if you've got any autumn plans. I feel like those are the videos that are going around a lot at the moment, people talking about their autumn plans. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know, I'm not very good at making plans and sticking to them. I'm kind of just a plodder on a kind of person. But yeah, feel free to share what you're making, and if you have any advice at all for how to get my cats to stop trying to sabotage my work, that would be amazing. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and catch up with you soon. Bye!